Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvi Namadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So here it says that when the person is established in this Brahman or is aware of this Brahman, that is, he gains what? Abhayam Pratishtham Vindate. Okay? There is a relative, there is a fearlessness. Athaso bhayam gatoha bhavati. There is no fear in the person. Okay? So then it says, Yada hi eva eshaha etasmin udaram antaram kurute athatasya bhayam bhavati. Okay. Even if you make a small difference in understanding this reality, okay, then the bhayam, which is the fear, cannot go. Okay. So we have to now understand what is the nature of the fear that goes away, right? One of the things that we all suffer from is the fear. There is nobody who lives in this world and can claim that I have not experienced fear. Okay? The fear can be just the normal instinctual fear of survival. Okay? Or it can be fear of, very often we all grow up because we all have this thing of people that we love, and mostly our parents, right? And there is always, everybody, as you grow, you know that nobody lasts forever. So there is this fear of mortality, right? Which is very often projected onto the people who are loved ones, your parents, your grandparents, people, everybody that you love. So that is another type of fear. Okay. Then you also have fear, which are many psychological fears that we can suffer from, in addition to these certain facts of life that we find so difficult to deal with, right? Which is the fear of death, fear of being diseased, having a disease. Many people say, oh, give me a long life, but I certainly don't want to have a life where I am afflicted with certain disease. I don't know how my body is going to be 20 years from now. You have one stroke. We have a friend who was not even 60 years old, and she had a stroke and then the whole thing is paralyzed. Okay? All her faculty, she lost her memory, she cannot get up, and she was like very, very active. Just one day she came home and then she got a stroke. Right? So that means there is always a fear with reference to the disease that somebody that you love is going to have, or you yourself are going to have. Okay? Then life becomes even more complex because you also have other fears of, the human relationships that you have, and you may lose them. In the sense that, you are two very good friends and some misunderstanding can happen and then you lose the person. Or even in terms of, husband and wife or girlfriend and boyfriend, it's amazing. Very often I have seen in the, which is more apparent, it is not that it doesn't exist, it is quite apparent in the Western society where relationships are not seen as kind of a lifelong relationship. There is always a fear on part of one partner or the other that the other one can walk out at any time. Okay, so there is another fear. Then with reference to the objects that we deal with, there is this fear about, money that I have collected, will I be able to retain it or not? So you can see the multiple level of fears that we suffer from as a rational human being. Okay, and then we imagine the world, then we have, which goes into a psychological fear. Okay? We imagine a world which is distrustful, where because things don't always go our way, right? That we feel that, oh, right now the times are bad. It is Kali Yuga, where people are going to be dishonest. People have lost values. This becomes the very basis of my transaction in the world. I have created a given framework of mind with which I view the world. And everything is perceived through that framework. And then, obviously, there is going to be fear. Because then, if my assumption is people are going to be dishonest, people are going to be corrupt, because this is a norm in Kali Yuga, every transaction is fraught with suspicion. And then, obviously, along with suspicion is the fear. What if I'm cheated? What if somebody is lying to me? What the Surya or even our Swamiji says, you are constantly a ninja. Ninja is you against the world and fighting and protecting yourself.
Ninja.
Ninja.
Oh.
It's in the martial art.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that ninja.
Okay.
Okay. You know somebody, every transaction, what is the motive? Let me protect myself. Even sometimes when people are good, you begin to be suspicious. Why is this person being so kind to me? Maybe there is some ulterior motive. And many of the very successful people suffer from that because it's true. The more success you have, more power you have. People don't relate to you as a person, they relate to you, to your position, right? And that position, along with that comes a certain power, and that power you have the capacity to use to benefit some people. So the minute somebody starts talking to you and all, you are suspicious. Oh, is this person doing it just for me? Or is it something that the person wants something out of me? So that means that natural tendency to relate to people is a little bit curved. Okay? And you're always on your guards. So this is what the level of fears. Any rational person, who we all call normal people, we all suffer from these fears in one degree or the other. Nobody can claim to be free from fear. If that person is saying I'm free from fear, there is little truth. Okay. So now, how does this knowledge help you to solve your fears? The problem of fear. How? Just as when Neeru had asked me the question about the desire, right? And there are many different levels. For fear also, there are many different levels. Generally, what is the advice which is given? The advice is given is that, oh, you should just take whatever comes. How will you take whatever comes? How can a day when you lose your parent be exactly the same day as any other day in life? And if it is for you, then you are not rational, you are not objective. This is not how a human being is designed as a robot. Okay? So that means that there are certain things that, there are levels of fears, as I said. There is an instinctual fear, which is for fear of survival. There is a situational fear which is common for everyone. For everyone, death is fraught with something which is sadness and of which I have fear of. Everyone, universally. Whether you are in America or you are in India or you are in Australia, you are with lot of riches or you are with no money, this fear is common and it's universal. Okay. Then you have, which is a universal thing, that death is something that I fear and that I cannot accept easily, which will create some sadness in me. Then you have something called your psychological fears. This whole thing of yoga and kshema. I want to acquire what I don't have now and I want to retain what I have. Because anytime what I have can go away. Which causes psychological fear. And I want to avoid what I don't have, disease, something that I don't like, and if I have it, I want to get rid of it. Because there is always a fear it will never go. Okay. So this is what we call psychological fears. Now, as a person who is interested in the truth, at what level are we working? The first level that we are working is eliminating our psychological fears. Right? Because many times before the event has taken place, I'm imagining it to have taken place. The boyfriend who has not has not left me, right? I'm imagining about the possibility of that boyfriend leaving me, which has not yet occurred, and I'm suffering from the insecurities and fears for event which has not occurred yet. Okay? Yes, there is a possibility. But that possibility can be dealt with in a totally different manner. The more I operate from fear, the more I am irrational in the way I deal with it. And I in fact increase the probability. Nobody likes, then you have fear, then you want to control because you have fear of losing. Then you want to control more and more the other person. The minute you want to control more the other person feels stifled. And you are increasing the probability of the person leaving because nobody wants to feel imprisoned or confined. So that means I have to take care of the psychological aspect of what I create fear, I act out of it, I think that I'm reducing the possibility, but in fact I'm increasing the possibility. Okay. That kind of a psychological burden that we all carry has to be reduced. How will it be reduced? one of the important ways in which we reduce this psychological fear is through understanding the presence of Ishvara as order. Life is changing all the time. Every second there is a change. And you don't know what that change is going to bring tomorrow. No idea. That unpredictability along with that brings some kind of a fear. The more I understand that things can always happen which can go counter to my wishes. But if I understand that whatever happens in my life has a purpose which will unfold in a given manner as it is meant to be unfolded, then you don't carry the imaginary burden. When you don't carry imaginary burden, when the situation comes, your mind is free to deal with, even though it's unpleasant, your mind is free to deal with it with a freshness. There was a very interesting, at the UN we have people who come and train us. And it was all about change and then the fear or anxiety that it brings. So what they did is they made us write, in fact there was a list. There was a list which was saying all these different events that can, in the past year, have you gone through those events. So the one event is the death of a sibling, death of a parent, then there is that you have moved from one place to the other, then you have changed the job, right? So every time there is a transition or there is a change, there is always some fear because you don't know how it will unfold, right? So for each of these changes, certain weightage was given. So in that situation, you will have more fear or more stress or more sadness. Okay? In this situation, so the death is associated with a lot more sadness, fear, and then when you have just moved from one city to the other, there is, because you have lost your friend, you have lost certain connections, you have to re-establish. So it is also associated with some, but the weightage is little less. Right? So you go through, each one is given these different events and we are supposed to tick what we went through. Right? So then at that time, I was in Fiji when I received this training. That time was a time that it was a huge transition in my life. Okay? In fact, many of the changes which are associated with very high stress were happening to my life. Okay? Because I had just lost my father, so I lost somebody very close to me who I loved very much. So tick. That you are feeling a separation from your spouse. Surya had gone to Coimbatore to attend the course and I was posted in Fiji, so I was physically away from him. So tick. You've changed your job. I had moved from Bangalore to Bangkok to Fiji. Tick. Tick, 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 tick. Everything associated with lot of fear of unknown, what will happen, what will be my life after that, these events. Lot of anxiety, lot of could be sadness. Then what, in fact, so we all think that we are on a very high bracket. A new boss. Everything was new, so that all sorts of high stress, high fear, high sadness, high everything, right? Each one of us did that. Each one had some situations in their life, right? So what happens is that when you add up everything, each one thinks that one is like really in a very high bracket. It is true, some were in a relatively high bracket, some were in a relatively lower bracket. But then you also discover that it's not only me, there are many others who are going through similar situations. Right? This Neeru's question, why me, why me? You always think that you are the one who is facing all these great difficulties. Okay. So then you begin to see that, hey, nobody's life is free from that, right? Everybody kind of goes through major transitions in life, which can cause a lot of difficulties at times. Okay? Then she did something very interesting. She said, now, okay, this situation, how did you deal with it? Each one, you had to write, what did you do to deal with each of these situations specifically. Then we all discovered that we all found ways to face every situation that came in front of us. When it actually happened, your whole life you said, oh my God, what would be the day like when you lose your father? Okay? But that day comes for everyone. And everybody has to go through it and everybody has to face it. An actual event but happens and you have to deal with it, but how much burden you are carrying for years and years and years. Okay? So each one is more or less equipped with the capacity to deal with that event. And if you have difficulty in dealing with that event, means you have not analyzed the nature of life and nature of relationship and nature of your dependency adequately. That means you can always improve the way in which you can face a given event. But that is not going to happen when you carry the fear. The carrying of the fear actually incapacitates you more than gives you necessary equipment with which equips you, not equipment, it equips you less, right, rather than equipping you with the capacity to deal with it. So that means your life effort should go in what? Not in suffering the fear, but in equipping yourself so that you can deal with every situation better. And then it says that, okay, more or less you can manage everything that happened. If you've done so in the past, you will be able to do it in the future, no matter what event comes, provided you have helped yourself and equipped yourself to face with every situation based on increasing your understanding of things. That potential is given to you. That means that's a huge way of looking that, yeah, why have I just that the carrying of the fear has actually incapacitated me more than given me skills to deal with situations better. So the only thing that I can actively do is to improve my skills in the sense of understanding of things, vision of things, which enables me to see every situation in a proper light and respond to it adequately without denying emotions. Right? So this is what Vedanta, when you want to understand Vedanta, you have to put your life in perspective through all these different things. You have to understand a few realities, and one of which is what we call the presence of Ishvara. In every situation, Ishvara is Karma Phaladata. Everything moves according to the order. That I can understand things better and let go and not carry the psychological fear is also a potential which exists within the order. That I help myself using the free will to see a psychologist, to come to Vedanta where I begin to see certain realities, my free will. I am helping myself. Saffron, do you have a question?
The question, my experience is that in my past, I have the ability to face all the difficult situations in my life. Yeah. But the problem is that through facing these difficult situations, the fear of facing the same situation in the future didn't become less but more. Like they left an impact in me, which is growing stronger than growing less. So there's some mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. So you see, when you have not done the adequate, exactly, that is a very good point, right? Sometimes the situations that we face reinforces certain phobias that we have, rather than releases us from that. Absolutely.
Although I was also being able to deal with them somehow.
True. So this is again, this work can be done at many different levels, right? That you go and you, let's say many times we ask for help of a psychologist, right? Where they make you sort out what's happening. Because what is happening is, in the present, you are recreating the past, right? The past impressions are there, but you are viewing the present not in a fresh perspective, but with what had happened in the past. But the present does not represent the past as such, right? So there is some mistake that you are creating when you are assessing the situation. You are carrying, it's like, when I want to see the steel, but I am carrying the impression of the flower, because that is what I have seen before. But that only interferes in my understanding what is in front of me, right? So that means that capacity of not connecting, right? Past is useful. We are not saying we have to forget the past. In the past, whatever happened, as Surya says, you have to accept, because that is something which is a fact. You can't just deny it. You can't forget it. Okay? But maybe those situations have some learning for you. Then that process of what is to be learned by me, that processing is not over. What remains is only the fear. Okay? And then that fear being there, which is a result of that non-processing, gets projected. And order keeps on bringing you these same situations again and again, because what is required is that processing. And most of the time we fail to do that, right? So this is a way for the order to bring you situations which will enable you to grow. And what happens most of the time, if you have dealt with it, many times it will go away. Even if it doesn't go away, its capacity to hold you will certainly go away. And then you're free even though that situation comes. Right? But that work is something which is necessary.
Okay, if I don't have a psychologist and I want to look at the past events, not future events, but past events, and look at it in the order of Ishvara, what does this exactly mean? Does it mean to look at it as well objectively in a cause-effect relationship, like this happened, then that happened, and somehow how it built up? Or is it something different?
That has also multiple levels. Very good. That has multiple levels, right? One thing is that the fear or disappointment. Let's say, now let's take back this situation, right? Your boyfriend left you. I mean, in your case, whatever. Just your boyfriend left you, right? Now, that leaving has created some grief, some sense of feeling of, being, especially when you like somebody so much, right? There is a kind of a sense of loss or betrayal, and many things are associated with that parting. Even in the parting, when you leave and when somebody else leaves you, it has a totally different impact, right? Because in one case you are somebody who made that decision, in the other case you are object of somebody else's decision. Okay? So each of these events leave a certain impression, but most of the time it leaves a certain this thing of sadness, fear, disappointment, betrayal. All these feelings are kind of there, right? Now, at that point, when we say, bring right now, I'm living my life. Okay? And I think in the morning meditation, Surya says that, right? For example, every emotion of yours is in order. What does it mean? It means that what has happened then, how you felt then, right? You could not have felt anything better because that was the situation. You can't go back and change your feelings back in time. It's impossible. Right? So to accept certain feelings as they are and not to resist them. What happens is that I don't want to accept that I had fear at that time, that I had anxiety at that time. You kind of brush away those feelings. You're not in touch with what you felt. Or in the name of spirituality, you feel, oh, these are not the feelings which are desirable. They are bad feelings. They are to be brushed away. So that means they are there, but you almost have the fear of owning up to them. You know, like for example, the mother tells a child, good boys, okay, don't cry. This is very destructive message. Right? Because crying is natural, right? When you have a sense of loss. So that means when next time you feel sad, you want to be good in the vision of your mother. So you, instead of expressing, you just suppress it and you just pretend that you are not upset. That means you have not processed what is, and every time you want to live up to the image of the world as to who is a good person. But all these feelings are there in you. Fear is there, sadness is there, anger is there, jealousy is there. Okay? It is unaddressed feelings. Right? So now what can you do? So when Surya says that it is part of the order, okay, whatever has happened in the past cannot be changed. Right? But you also have a free will. You are given the free will according to in the order of things. So at present, I have the freedom of whether looking into it and correcting this perception or not. I have that freedom. That is also within the order. I need not live by the past impressions that are holding me and keep on projecting those impressions into the fresh world which is in front of me. I need not be the animal of habitual thinking or habitual orientation. That freedom is also given to me. So I also have the freedom to revisit the past, understand the whole thing differently. I said, yeah, sometimes it can create the sadness, it's okay. At that time, instead of feeling guilty about it, I can say, now the situation that is in front of me is not that person. It is this person who has a different motive, different dynamic, different values. Okay? So my response need not be based on that, but it has to be based on what is now. So certain amount of processing of what, there are sometimes many different situations. If you have fear, okay, many times different situations come which manifest unaddressed fear. They may come in many different forms, but it has one source. Once you begin to look at it a little bit, the pattern of what situations trigger this kind of a response in you, you find out a little bit more about what is one basic thing which is causing that. I will give you an example. Okay? So small examples, but they tell you a lot. Okay? They are not some major examples. But this is how human beings are, and this is how we all behave. So there is this little child, not little child, a teenager, right? He really wanted to be a cricketer. Okay. Now this is, I'll start with another bit. I'll start with an adult. Okay, an adult. This is a real story, by the way. Okay, an adult who came to us. He's a big shot in big Wall Street bank, head of one entire division. Okay, he came to us and he says that I have a problem. At least the person wanted to address it. Okay, he says I have a problem that every time I enter into a discussion with somebody else, okay, and if the other person has another standpoint, okay, I'm unable to just listen to that standpoint. I become very defensive and I become very aggressive, and I'm trying very hard to prove my point, and I'm kind of almost condescending towards others, saying, yeah, you don't make sense. Okay? Now, imagine your life when every time you interact with somebody, what is the likelihood that they'll all agree on you with everything? Very little, right? So imagine every time somebody says something counter to what you think, you become angry or defensive. What kind of interaction are you going to have with the world and people? And that's what it started bothering him. And he wanted to find a solution. So then, we just were talking, because I don't know what is his source of fear. I just can probe him to figure out what is happening in his life, right? So I asked him, so I said that, so rationally, do you think that everybody can agree with you on every point? Rationally, of course, he knows that there is no such possibility. He's an intelligent person, successful. So he says, yeah, obviously nobody will agree with me. So I said, if you already know it, that not everybody is going to agree with you on everything, when somebody has a different standpoint, why is it something which is bothering you? Okay. So then he started thinking about why he's responding like that. Then he kind of a little bit went back to some patterns. I said, you write about what is happening at every situation and try to trace it back to some major event where that disagreement was too traumatic. Somebody disagreed with you on some given issue which was too traumatic for you. And he immediately found an event. He found an event that when he was a teenager, okay, he really wanted to be a cricketer. That was his dream. And he was very good at that. He was brilliant at cricket. He was a bowler. Okay? He was selected under this under-19 team to go to England, and he happened to be in the same team where Sachin Tendulkar was, right? And he had a very promising career. Now what happened is, in Indian context, what happens is, every Indian parent, now maybe things are changing, but this is 20 years ago, okay, they are all afraid that, what if you don't make it to test cricket? Your whole life is wasted. So the parents put a lot of pressure, both parents are doctors. So they put a lot of pressure on him to be a professional. Where you are guaranteed, you have a job, you have income, you have a proper life, it's not you're struggling to be a cricketer. And then what happens if you don't make it? Because there are hundreds of people struggling to be in the national team. Okay? So because of the lot of pressure, when you're young, 14, 15, 16, that there's a lot of pressure, and that's what you have to somehow yield to the parents' pressures. So he chose to kind of give up cricket, and he then went to the US and he studied. He did his masters, he did extremely well, he got a very good job. All that happened, and he got a very good position, and his position was better and better, and now he became head. But the deep impression that lasted is something that he really wanted to do, he was denied. Somebody else's thought did not match with what he wanted to do. Okay? And he was compelled to go by their wishes. Right? Once he understood that, he understood every present situation where somebody is disagreeing. It reminds him of that given situation when he really wanted something and somebody had a different wish. And he had to yield and he had to follow their wish. So every time that situation arose, it brought some discomfort in him. Once you understand what is going on, you have a certain hold. Right? Now you know that this present situation has got nothing to do with my response is so much more than what the present situation calls for. Once you become aware, half the job is done. Because most of the time when we live, we are not even aware. You think it's the present situation which is bringing all this feeling. You attribute it to that person, but actually the roots lie somewhere else. Now, looking at that, now what can he do about the past? He cannot rechange his past. Whatever has happened has already happened. So what that resistance to what has already happened is that processing has not been done. So this is where Surya says you have to bring Ishvara in life. You have to understand this happened. I had this frustration which is in place, which happened according to the order. The parents behaved in a given manner, which is also in keeping with order, because they had something else in mind. They had your future in mind. They had your well-being in mind. They didn't want to make you suffer. In fact, they thought that they were enabling you to make a more rational decision. So you can't live your life holding your parents responsible. No, you have to let them go through. You have to understand where they are coming from. And their wishes for your financial security is also based on their background of what is a success in life. Okay. So you let go every person and every individual from your head by understanding the order of Ishvara. That way, your mind is free. That given event, neither you blame yourself for it, nor you blame somebody else. You free yourself from series of responsibilities, series of attributions. The more you begin to free, you are fresh to reassess the present, not in the light of what happened in the past and through resentments, but in a fresh light. And even if you are falling back into the past patterns, when Lord Krishna, Arjuna said, I keep falling back into the past patterns, what do? He says only two things, abhyasa. Every time it happens, it's okay, that things don't just go away. Any emotional orientation that we are carrying, any given vision of the world that we are carrying, it takes a while to reorient ourselves. It doesn't happen overnight. But every time it happens, I'm alert, I'm alive. Okay, even if I fall back, I'm able to re-bring back. That is my free will. Yeah, even I'm becoming aware that, oh, I'm falling back into the past pattern. Let me re-look and see whether these patterns, and I understand that these patterns are not valid. Abhyasa, repeated alertness, deliberation. Not mechanical behavior, but behaviors which are well thought of using your free will. This is where Surya says, give me the capacity to change what I can. Because that capacity is also within the order. And to know the difference between what I can change and what I cannot change. Most of the time, the effort is towards changing the past, forgetting the past, which is impossible. Past is past. How either you feel guilty about how you feel at that time, that you are angry, that I should not be angry, or you are angry towards your parents for being who they were, or you just want to brush aside the whole experience. None of it is possible. You have to resolve it all at the level of Ishvara. That is the only way, and that requires certain processing, certain understanding, certain alertness. Changing what I can, which is given as a possibility. Making an effort through my free will. Okay. Sometimes, in spite of all these efforts, I fall back. Okay. What happens? I have one thing. As I keep on saying, for the unknown variables, you have one thing in your hand, prayer. Pray for it, ask for it. Ask, I want to be released from this resentment. Free me from that. I want to be freed from all the confusions that I carry in my head and use those confusions in my decision making. Free me from that. Let me have the lucidity to see how am I assessing situations. Is it based on certain proper understanding, or is it just based on some past habits? Give me that clarity of thinking. That could be your prayer. This is what we call Gayatri Mantra. Free me from my patterns of thinking which makes me see the world in a given framework which may not be the right framework at all. Reshuffling constantly to make sure that what I view is corresponding to what is. That is prayer of a very mature person. After trying, not just, you try and you also pray. You try and you pray. You make that attempt yourself and you pray. Over a period of time, the hold of things will go. So what did this person, let's come back to this person. Okay? He cannot now become a cricketer. He is already in his 40s. So he cannot go back and say, now I want to be a professional cricketer. But he could give an expression to that passion that he had. He joined a local county club, just a local club, and he became a coach for these kids. That gave him, always there is a way to express what was missed out on. And it gives him so much satisfaction. Now he loves it. When he sees all these young little children coming to him, okay, and getting certain skills, and they are making into some bigger and bigger levels of tournaments. He just loves it, and he encourages them. He says, now when I was talking to him, he said something which is very, very interesting. Okay? He said, I have discovered in my years of coaching these little boys, he said, I have discovered two things. Cricket is about not only the skills of how the bat kind of touches and where you place it and all. Of course it is. You have to be very precise and you have to be very good. But in addition to that, cricket is also about the psychological strength that you have. Right? Every time these bowlers, what they try to do, you're a very good player. they psychologically attempt to weaken you, intimidate you. He says this is all part of the game. We just see people bowling and batting, but as much as it is the game of skill, it is also a game of psychology. How you don't get intimidated by that. Okay? And it's true, because Indian team is very good in terms of skills. Okay? But all these psychologists come to give them the certain mental strength, that to have that instinct to say that we are going to stand together, we are not going to collapse. It's very much incorporated in the professional team now. They are all trained. It's very much recognized. And he says, I give them both. I give them skills and I look at their psychology and I help them to overcome their own self-imposed barriers. His life is brilliant now. He loves it. He's very successful in his professional career. He has given expression to his so-called lost opportunity for which he was carrying and recreating situations. He's become much more relaxed with human beings. When different people, when they talk, he's no longer caught by oh, somebody is the person has helped oneself and freed oneself, not transferring blame to somebody else. To oh, my parents and I'm still as miserable, but before I thought I was no good, now I think not only I am no good, but my parents are no good. No. This is how this step of dealing with psychological fears is non-negotiable if you want Vedanta to work for you. It is not just going to go away because you are thinking about that Brahman is consciousness and that consciousness there is an in-between reality. It won't go away. You have to recognize it, you have to recognize its presence. That itself requires a lot of maturity and a lot of grace. And then you have to deal with it at that level. Then what do you have? You have relative freedom from sense of fear. Because psychological fears are taken care of. But the fear of mortality, is it going to go away? No. Which are designed to the condition of being a human. That fear will only go away when you see the reality of yourself as something which is never born and never going to die. The body has come into being at a given point in time, which is what? Annamaya. The mind has come into being at a given time, Manomaya. My pranic functions have come in along with the physical body, Pranamaya. All my capacities have come, which enables me to transact with the world, Vijnanamaya. Me, the Bhokta, the enjoyer who wants to engage in the world and enjoy, Anandamaya. These are all the 5 errors that I commit with reference to who I am. As long as that identification is there, these basic fears of death of you and death of loved ones is never going to go. It cannot go. So one is a psychological fear which is our own addition. The other is the fears which a human life is fraught with. Fear of unknown. Unknown can go when I understand everything is in order. And whatever comes, I have been given the capacity to deal with it. Through these exercises that I showed you at the UN. And ultimately, The fear can go only when I understand the truth of myself as being free from mortality. This is the wise person. Moving from psychological processing to the vision of the wise person about what is Atma. I is not placed in any of the 5 levels. I is placed where it belongs, which is Satyam Jnanam Anantam. But in order for that right placement to take place, I have to have dealt with the psychological fear. That is a non-negotiable step. Okay? So this is the kind of non-fearlessness that the wise person gets. We will elaborate on it in the next class. We have a lot of time now. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.